Hello and welcome to Planning Your Professional Development. I'm Andy King.
And I'm Jessica Birch.
We're coming to you from AmeriCorps VISTA headquarters in Washington, D.C. We're assisted today by our colleague here, Eric Powell, as well as by Andy Clark and Scott Weinrobe from Education Northwest. You'll see all of us in the chat and the Q&A to assist you during this session.
So we wanted to start off by saying thank you. Thank you to all of you who've been posting to the chat questions about what goal you hope to accomplish during your VISTA year of service. So I just want to read out a few of these because these are great. So Gabriella Kenny here said, I hope to get to surfing again, a personal goal outside of my service, which is great. Good to have personal goals. We also had someone here said that I would like to learn how to become a better professional inside and outside of the workplace. A few others, Peter said, during my service, I hope for myself to expand my skills on social media. For the organization itself, I hope to broaden our outreach to the faith communities of Montana, since these organizations are often at the heart of rural communities. It's really great, Peter. It sounds like you've kind of gotten a pulse on Montana and kind of what those communities, where those are influenced and, where the decision makers are. Andy, do you see any other ones in the chat that you'd like to?
Yeah, there was one, someone said they wanted to connect their organization where they're serving to other organizations in the community and help that partnership development that will make their efforts more sustainable and more efficient. So I think that's a terrific goal and right in line with VISTA programming key principles.
It's true. And Charles here said that during my service, I hope to create sustainable programs which help student veterans succeed on my campus for many years to come. So that's great. Thank you for the work that you're doing with veterans. And we love that, sustainable, many years to come. You're thinking way past just your service here, so you're on the right path there.
Yeah, and Jamie's goal is to create a website that will hopefully attract more male participants into their senior center. So that's a very specific type of goal, and the methodology is outlined there. So some really great goals that you've outlined. Jessica, any others you would highlight?
Yeah, so let's just end on this one. I thought this one was great as well. Nita said, during my year of service, I hope to empower young adults with opportunities that will prepare them for college and or career, while also making a change in their community. So those are great goals. You are changing your community for the better just by being a VISTA, so thank you all for that work that you do. So it's great. We see a lot of positive service goals as well as professional goals. And we recognize that you were also commenting on ways you want to grow, in your personal lives and, your future past VISTA, but also how to fulfill your duties in your VISTA assignment description. So you may have joined VISTA to become involved in anti-poverty causes or to learn about nonprofit management, or perhaps you saw an opportunity to become a better public speaker. Some of you talked about professional goals, or to help a specific community that's meaningful to you. Maybe it's a town you grew up in. Maybe now you're just coming back to this community. And maybe you identified challenges related to your work and your professional development. So these are all great ways to get started.
And the VISTA program offers a range of resources to support your professional development, but the best way to make it happen is to start with a plan. So in this session, we'll help you plan for your professional development, and we're going to point you to some specific resources that can help you make it happen. During your pre-service orientation, you learned some of the basics of understanding your VISTA assignment, what's in your VAD. You identified some of the skills that you're going to need in order to complete your VAD, and you started to navigate the VISTA campus to help find some helpful resources. So now comes the fun part. Time to take your initial thoughts and turn them into action. And it's action, really, that enables you to succeed in VISTA service.
That's true. We all have great ideas, but we want to really put those ideas into action. So the first is one of my favorite activities. We want to know where you're serving. It helps to know as you begin service and that you're thinking about growing personally and professionally. Also to know who's nearby that may be able to assist or provide additional resources. So as we mentioned, there's a lot of you on this webinar, and we have VISTAs serving all across the country who went to many different pre-service orientations. So let's take a look to see where everyone is serving. If you've seen this before, you know what to do, and it sounds like, or it looks like most of you already know what to do. For those of you who haven't, in the upper left corner of the screen is an icon that looks like a pencil. So you can click on that annotation tool on the left side of your screen, click the arrow tool, and then click on the map to point to where you're serving. You may want to make the slide full screen. You can do this by clicking on the double arrows in the top right of the screen where you can more easily see others. So let's take a look, Andy, where everyone is serving.
Yeah, well, there's a real range. We've got a lot of East Coast folks. Of course, there's a higher population density on both the East Coast and West Coast, so that's really no surprise there.
I'm a little concerned about Nora. She says she's serving in Canada. Not sure about that, Nora. There's a lot of East Coast. Whoever's drawn the giant pink circle, they've got it. There's a lot of people. And a snake coming to it, I don't know. But there's so many of you. So just look, you know, many of you have people in your area or who are nearby you that, you know, you can get a lot of support from. Let's take a look here. Looks like we have Puerto Rico. Great. Hawaii. I hope there's some Alaska in there. As an Alaska alum, I'm very excited about those serving in Alaska. Someone here said no one is serving in Wyoming. So this is great, guys. I mean, really, take a look at this and just see, like, all of you are serving with, you know, the same VISTA program. You guys are doing unique things in your projects, but, you know, you're not alone. You know, when we have VISTA serving in all 50 states, yes, there are VISTA serving in Wyoming, even though they're not maybe on this webinar. And those in U.S. territories, know that they're a resource for you, and that, you know, you can always, you know, chat with them, talk in the forums. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but you guys can connect. You guys are a part of a big family, and just know that you have one another. By the way, if you did take my suggestion and switch to your slide view to full screen, you may want to switch back so that you can participate in the other activities that are going to be coming up. But this is great, guys. It's so nice to see where you are serving.
Yeah, and just to add, this is a fun activity that we do during the webinar, and of course, this is going to disappear in just a moment. There is a map on the VISTA campus that you may have already discovered, and that shows all currently serving VISTA members, whether you're on this webinar or we're on a different one, as well as VISTA alumni, VISTA leaders, supervisors. So you can use the VISTA map on the campus to do a much more detailed look to see who's nearby. You can also search by a variety of criteria. So this is kind of a little entree into looking at that campus map. All right.
So let's talk about our agenda for today. So we're going to start by diving into the 4 steps of action, which can help you plan and reach your professional development goals. Then we'll discuss solid next steps and then go over to the question and answer portion of the webinar. So throughout today's presentation, we'll have opportunities for you to share your thoughts and comments. And if this works, everyone, I'm going to ask Andy King to start us off.
All right. Thanks, Jessica Birch. So 4 steps for action. They're now up on your screen. These were developed with input from VISTA members who were sharing tips and ideas about what worked for them, what helped them to be successful during their service year. So we took it straight from other VISTAs and put it together into these 4 steps. And the first step is to get settled. So getting settled involves a number of things. You've been a VISTA for just a few weeks now, and you're becoming accustomed to perhaps new surroundings, certainly a new workplace, and for some of you, maybe a different income level. So we're going to use another feature of WebEx here. It's the raise hand feature. So you have to be able to see your participants panel. The raise hand is the little hand icon at the bottom of that participants panel. It'll be in the upper right-hand side of your screen. So if you know the answer to this question I'm going to ask, I want you to raise your hand. So here's the question. How many sick days and how many personal days off do you get as a VISTA member? So if you think you know the answer, raise your hand. And let them take a look. You're not supposed to put the answers in the chat. You're supposed to just raise your hand so that we can...
Oh, we got one here, Eleanor. That's good.
Yeah, so if you don't see your hand, you have to open the participants panel. It's right above the chat. And you see that little hand there.
I'm sure hoping, people are giving you a lot of the answers in the chat. If you don't know, just look in the chat and then raise your hand. The answer is in there.
Yeah, so I'm seeing now scores and scores, like lots and lots and lots of raised hands. So that's great. Thank you for participating in that. We wanted to introduce you to that little feature of WebEx. And it's good to see that so many of you know the answer. So now you can lower your hand. You do that again by clicking on the little hand if you raised your hand. So the point of this is, a lot of you know the answer to this particular question, but there may be other questions that you don't know the answer to that are similar. Or if you didn't happen to know this, this question, the place you're going to want to look is the VISTA Member Handbook.
That's really one of the first steps of getting settled, is to read that VISTA Member Handbook. We talk about it in PSO, we talk about the importance, and where you can find really good information if you have a question. So the handbook is located on the VISTA campus in the section called Life as a VISTA. It lists the policies of the VISTA program and outlines the process for requesting assistance. So if you had questions about how many leave days you got or you were to receive, and relocation policy, all of those sorts of things can be found in the member handbook. If you do have other questions that you can't find in the VISTA member handbook, you can contact the VISTA member support unit with those questions. If it's related to your living allowance or your benefits or the education award, they can assist you. You can also contact your state office for support regarding emergencies, issues with your supervisor, or any VISTA policy questions. So definitely crack open that electronic handbook and get to reading.
So in addition to the people that Jessica just mentioned, you have access to other resources like the VISTA campus that we've been talking about, as well as your fellow VISTA members. So I encourage you to check out the VISTA discussion forums that are located on the campus to get insights that other VISTAs have shared in response to questions or challenges that some of your colleagues have posted. And if you don't see the topic that you're looking for, you can, of course, post your own question, or you can offer advice in response to questions that others have put up there. There are discussion forums on many topics, including those looking for housing, people who are wondering how to collect and use coupons to save money, and folks looking for suggestions on websites that they can use for doing like graphic design, creating flyers and brochures and that kind of stuff. You may also want to create or start your own event, whether it's formal or informal. You can engage with VISTA members in your local area by setting up a VISTA get-together. You can plan and schedule and promote it. You can find people through the campus. You could develop one around professional development and learning. You could find out what other VISTAs might be willing to share. Everybody has some skill or some talent or some information that they'd be willing to share with others. So you could tap into them, see what they're interested in learning, and see what others might be interested in sharing. Or you could create a gathering, a get-together, just to engage with other VISTAs over coffee or tea.
Exactly, and let's not forget, another dimension of getting settled is getting settled into your organization. So it's important to feel comfortable in your organization. I mean, that's where you're going to be spending most of your time as a VISTA. And if you haven't done so already, you should really schedule a regular check-in meeting with your supervisor. This is really essential to your success in meeting your VISTA goals and ensuring your project is sustainable. We find that, a lot of people who struggle, with their service year or, are kind of confused about their badge don't have those regular check-ins with their supervisor. So if you set those up early, it just becomes part of the routine with you and your supervisor. So definitely do that. Next, take some time to explore what's already been done before. Most of you probably heard this from me, don't try to invent the wheel twice. So dive into some documents that lay the foundation for your organization. You can take a look at their strategic plan, their mission, their vision, and if there have been VISTAs on your site before, review their accomplishments. You can look at past quarterly reports, which your supervisor should probably have, and who knows, maybe they left you like a VISTA binder to help you get started in your service. And finally, take some time to get to know your colleagues. Meet with people in various departments to learn about their roles and how you might work together. You know, meet them, have them know who you are. You know, you want to be integrated into that organization, and you want them to know all the great work that you're doing, and that they can know, you know, how their position and you as a VISTA can support the whole organization. These contacts are also likely to have connections in the community that could be helpful, so definitely check that out. So now, since we're on a webinar, let's take advantage of one of the other features that is available to us.
Yeah, so here's a chance for us to hear from you again. On the right side of the screen is a poll about the frequency that you currently meet with your supervisor. So we're talking about a formal meeting that both of you have actually scheduled time and are having a meeting to discuss various things. We're not talking about just answering a question in passing or having an impromptu, 2 or 5 minute check-in. So please take a moment to answer the question, how frequently do you formally meet? Is it multiple times a week, once a week, about once every 2 weeks, or about once a month? Or, I never have formal meetings with my supervisors, so use the poll. Got a few seconds left there. Be sure, once you select your answer, to click the Submit button in the bottom right corner, so that way your response will be registered. So we know that schedules are busy with meetings and site visits, activities, and more. It can be challenging to sit down and have an actual meeting. However, one of the biggest elements to VISTA member success, both personally and professionally, is good supervision and a good member-supervisor relationship. In fact, the VISTA program, we did some analysis. We had an outside evaluator looking at what the success factors were, and right at the top of the list was that member-supervisor relationship. So we want to make sure that you have adequate support that you need as you continue to grow and learn, and we also want you to do your part to ensure that your supervisor and your sponsoring organization know about what it is that you need, the challenges you're facing, as well as your accomplishments.
True. So it looks like the poll closed, Andy.
The poll is closed, the results are up, and it looks like the largest number of you are meeting with your supervisor once a month, which is terrific. That's really...
Once a week.
Did I say month?
You said month.
Oh,
but
sorry.
I know what you meant.
Yeah, sorry, I meant to say once a week. And that's really awesome. That is a really terrific frequency with which to meet with your supervisor. So,
exactly. So, luckily, not many people. Let me see here. Let me check again. Let's see. I never have formal meetings with my supervisor. It looks like 8 of you said that, and 72 did not answer. So, those 8 of you, and perhaps maybe more, make sure to set that time up. Do that right after this webinar. Talk to your supervisor. Just say, hey, can we schedule something? I just want to be able to check in as I dive deeper into my VAD. And they should set that up with you because, as Andy said, it's an important aspect to your VISTA service. So. All
right. So while we're talking about supervisors, let's move on and talk a bit about what to do when your supervisor is, say, less than ideal. There may be times when a situation with your supervisor is too challenging for you to manage on your own. For example, if your supervisor is straight up mean to you, or if you feel you're being harassed, or if your supervisor is out of the office all the time and you don't know when you'll see them again, or if you have so many different supervisors that you can't get any decision made on your project. So if you have a challenge like one of these, or something that's preventing you from having a successful service experience, then I want to make sure to point you to some of the resources, whether it's through VISTA or through your own organization, that could support you. So first off, the VISTA program is here to help if you have a situation that's too challenging, and your supervisor is not the only form of support. Many of you will have a VISTA leader assigned to you. Not all VISTA projects have a leader, but the larger ones do, typically. And a leader can provide you with support, general advice. They can point you in the right direction to appropriate resources. and they can serve as a liaison or a facilitator in difficult conversations that you may need to have with your supervisor. In addition, there is what we call a CNCS state office. That's the Corporation for National and Community Service, the federal agency that runs the VISTA program. We have offices that cover all 50 states and territories. So there is a state office that manages your VISTA project. Any issues that you might have in terms of the overall management of the VISTA project, the direction that things are going, or its ability to attain its goals, or if you have an issue that you can't resolve directly with your supervisor, those would be the kinds of things you could take to your state office. Similarly, if there's no sense of direction or supervision, or if what's listed in your VAD isn't really what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, or if the tasks that you're being asked to do are not capacity building, if you're replacing the duties of a staff member, or if you're experiencing hostility from others at the organization, or as I mentioned earlier, harassment or discrimination, any of those things, you also can go directly to your CNCS state office and they will intervene. So we're going to be presenting an entire webinar that digs deeper into supervision issues and how to manage them. The webinar is called Managing Up, Navigating the VISTA Supervisor Relationship, and that is coming up on October 19th. So be sure to head over to the VISTA campus to register for that session.
That's true. Our wonderful colleague Calvin takes the lead on this, and most of you, not most of you, but a lot of you met Calvin in Portland. So if you love Calvin in Portland, you're going to love him on the webinar. Definitely check it out. So, all right, once you've settled in, you've identified areas for personal growth, it's time to turn your VAD into action and reflect on its activities and goals. So having a well-structured work plan helps you jump into your service and track your progress effectively. So we keep talking about this plan, but how does one begin to create a plan? First, as we've said before and we just finished saying, meet with your supervisor to review your VAD and develop measurable goals, milestones, and deliverables. Make sure to keep your VAD handy so that you can refer back to it periodically to track your progress. If you're like, man, I lost my VAD, I don't know where it is, you can always print a copy of your VISTA assignment description from your MyAmericorps account. Take notes, write down questions that you have about your VAD, as well as any clarifications needed so that you understand your assignment. We talk about your VISTA assignment description during PSO, but we also know that questions come up during service, so make sure to write those down and clarify them with your supervisor. Remember that your goal as a VISTA, and which will help you after service in terms of your professional development, is to strategize ways to make your work sustainable in the organization and in the community. So take that, see from that lens when looking at your VISTA assignment description. In the time since PSO, you and your supervisor have likely come up with additional activities to support the achievement of those goals, and hopefully to capitalize on your unique strengths that you're bringing with you to the project itself. So your VAD may be refined somewhat from the original version that you had at PSO. Your supervisor is the person to contact if you have questions about the VISTA assignment description, its time frame, or other aspects of your scheduled assignment. Really, it's important to take ownership of your VAD and to take time to reflect on what is being asked of you. Focus on trying to discover for yourself how your own personal goals and ideas are in alignment with your VAD. A lot of you put in the chat at the first question, I want to grow professionally, learn to do more with social media, which would then also could help your organization. So finding those that are in alignment with your VAD is really going to help you in the long run. And also, the more passionate and committed you are to your service activities, the easier it will be for you to learn and grow. You're going to enjoy it more, you're going to get more out of it. So, find that passion.
All right, so we're going to, as we go, share with you a number of resources that can help you on your way. So here's one of those. While you're working in the community, it's easy to forget to keep track of all the incredible work that you're doing. So part of the sustainability of VISTA service comes from planning and tracking, as well as keeping good records. So this resource, called the VISTA Impact Reporting Tool, or sometimes called the VISTA Impact App, allows you to track your activities using a smartphone or computer, or really any web-enabled device. By keeping a log of your activities and your successes, it will not only help you and your supervisor when reports are due, but it will also help you to build a clear record of your achievements to reference even after you finish your service term. So it's great for your portfolio. The VISTA Impact Tool is available only through the VISTA campus, so that's the place to go look for it. We have an on-demand webinar that highlights the VISTA Impact Tool, and it shows you how to use it, walks through all the different features, and helps explain the way to get the most out of it. So that's a resource for you to know about, the VISTA Impact Reporting Tool.
That's great, Andy. So now we want to hear back from you. We want to hear from you again. We want to get you engaged here. So now that you've been at your project for at least a couple of weeks, has anything popped up that makes you nervous about your VAD? Maybe you're worried about being asked to do something that is beyond your current skill set, like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of stuff about spreadsheets and I have no idea how to even open Excel. Or maybe the task's outline seem too big. I mean, if your VAD says, you know, solve poverty in 3 weeks, that would be a little too big. So is there anything that we could provide that would alleviate this nervousness? So answer the chat question. Are there things that you're nervous about in your VAD? On the flip side of that, we also want to know what you're excited about in your VAD. Is there anything specific that you're working on or gearing up to work on that you are particularly passionate about? We always love hearing about the wonderful work you're doing, so please let us know. Put that in the chat. We'll start reading these out as they come in.
Yeah, so a number of concerns and you know, nervous things coming up. Grant writing. I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to raise enough to meet the needs of my organization. Someone just said, really, everything is new to me. It's all new, and absolutely, at the beginning, it can seem overwhelming.
Yeah, and we also have someone here who said, Talia said, my VAD is too extensive, and my supervisor continually asks me to do many tasks despite being told multiple times the VAD is written for a 3-year project.
Wow.
Yeah. Emily said, I'm worried about examining my organization's current college access program and finding solutions if needed. That sounds like a daunting task. Yeah. Let's see here. Let's see. Jeffrey said, I'm excited to accomplish the VAD. It's all within my range to complete and go above. STEM education and community engagement. That's great, Jeffrey. I love it. Alana said Excel. Man, Excel is a beast. I don't enjoy it so much.
Yeah, a couple people have mentioned tracking their progress, keeping records of things, and making sure that you're documenting. So that is an important feature of your work. You need to be able to tell the story. You need to be able to demonstrate not only for yourself, for your supervisor, but for the VISTA program overall. It's important that we know what's happening so that we can show Congress, our appropriators, the American people, that federal resources are being invested wisely, and that we can tell the success story of what it is that you're accomplishing. So those are all really important things.
True. Someone else here said, I'm learning a lot about networking with local colleges and career programs and the importance of connections. So I guess I'm nervous about having to work on my people skills more. That can be hard.
Yeah.
I consider myself an introvert. It's hard for me to just like step out there, meet those people that I've never known before.
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement in here too. A number of you have been sharing what you're excited about. So Gabriella says, I'm excited about meeting community partners. And I met my first one today. It was awesome. So she said it's life-giving to come together, which is absolutely true. So there is that energy in communities. So lots of excitement here. Excitement about bringing order to something that's currently somewhat chaotic.
I like it. Let's see. I'm most excited to go to upset sale auctions and get a property for a community land trust.
Wow.
Yeah. Here, these are so great, guys. There's so many of these.
Yeah, someone's excited about talking to potential students about college and sort of opening up that possibility for them as well. So great, lots of energy here, lots of excitement. That's really terrific.
And for those of you who said, and Rachel, I'm gonna have to yell out your name here. Those of you who said Excel, man, scary. Rachel here said that she loves Excel. So remember we talked about the VISTA map, where to find people. Rachel, I'm calling you out. Maybe she'll be willing to, you know, give you some insider tips on the joys of Excel.
Yeah, you're going to get 100 new learning connections this week.
Exactly. You're welcome, Rachel.
Someone's excited about free webinars and free education through VISTA. Awesome.
Wonderful. We love it when you join us. This is great, everyone. We love hearing about all of your nervousness. Keep them going, you know, keep talking to one another. You never know what your excitement might help someone's nervousness or the other way around. Maybe you're nervous about something and someone says, hey, I have your back, email me, find me on the VISTA campus, and we'll talk it through. You know, you guys are one of your greatest support tools throughout your VISTA year.
Yeah, and really, thank you, Rachel, for putting yourself out there.
Or thank you, Jessica, for putting Rachel out there.
Yeah, well, she's done it in the chat.
Great.
She could have remained just anonymous Rachel, but she did. So thank you, Rachel. You're awesome.
Yes.
Let's move on and talk about the next step. How's that? Step 3, make time to learn. So leading in or following on to the comments about free webinars and education opportunities, you know, now during your VISTA year really is your time to shine and really accentuate who you are. So with the action steps that you've already identified, now's the time to determine ways that you can improve your skills that are going to relate to your VISTA assignment. It's likely that your VAD includes things that you've never done before, and that's perfectly okay. It's going to give you the opportunity to learn something new, build your skill, build your experience, and build your resume and portfolio. So your supervisor may also recommend that you participate in additional training that could relate to your VAD or other duties that you'll be working on. So we encourage you to register for and attend the VISTA webinars that we offer so you can improve your knowledge on those particular topics. And we're going to provide you an example of some of the many webinars that we offer in just a second. I'll also suggest that you continue to search the VISTA campus for resources, tutorials, and ideas that might open up new learning pathways for you that could relate back to your initial plan, what you started to sketch out related to your VAD in terms of skill development. So the VISTA program offers 2 free online courses that we call the VISTA Blend, not to be confused with PSO Blend, but these are 10-week online courses that you can sign up for, can apply for, and you can opt to receive college credit for that 10-week course if you want. So with any learning, be sure to consult your supervisor and plan your workload accordingly before taking advantage of these learning opportunities. The VISTA Blend, the 10-week courses are offered 3 times a year. So if you didn't enroll in the session that just got started, watch your inbox for notice of the next enrollment period.
That's true. Those are really great. And Caitlin here just put in here, she's like, I'm currently doing the volunteer class, and it is so cool. It's awesome, Caitlin. You just jumped right in there.
Great.
So as we mentioned, you know, a great way to learn about service-related topics and information that will help you through your service is our webinars. So just as life in general is very extensive, so are our webinar topics on life as a VISTA. So you've likely heard of us talk about these webinars on other webinars. Maybe you've attended some of them. You may not be aware, though, of how many different types of webinars we have. So we develop and present webinars based on the topics that VISTAs say are important to them. So we do it based on feedback that you give us. Hey, I want to know more about this. Great, let's do a webinar on it. We also have a separate webinar series for supervisors and VISTA leaders that kind of does the same thing. We ask for feedback and we provide those webinars. So what topics have interested VISTAs over the years? We organize the webinar topics based on the life, what VISTAs need to know as part of living as a VISTA, and the work. So the life series and the work series. The work series is specific information related to VADs and project activities. So here are just a few examples of the webinars that we present on the LIFE. Let's see here. First, managing student loans. Grown, student loans, boo. You may have had to borrow money to attend school and take courses, and we know that loans can be daunting. So depending on the lender and the type of loan, the headache can even grow more from there. So as a VISTA member, you have many options to manage your student loans during and after your service. So this webinar offers helpful hints and information to postpone, repay, and reduce loan payments. This is a great webinar. Our colleague served as NCCC member. He used the education word. He talks about in this webinar what he learned, what he should have done, what he wished he'd done, what he did right. So it's a great webinar. You can always check it out on demand. There's also avoiding burnout during service. So yeah, you guys are in a couple weeks of service and we're already talking about burnout. You know, you need to understand how to recognize your ongoing and common stressors, particularly those related to your VISTA role and your ability to process and overcome them. Andy, do you see any other ones that you might want to highlight here? I mean, there's so many. Yeah, so again, these are scheduled throughout your service year. Some of the ones that Jessica mentioned are good at the start of your service year. 10 months from now, you're going to start thinking about what's next. So we've got several sessions that relate to your next career steps, like translating your VISTA service to your resume and to your career. It's a phenomenal thing. You've got a great story, or you will have a great story to tell near the end of your service year, but it's not so easy when you have to fill in the box, you know, in a monster.com type application. So we have a webinar on that one as well. And then as Jessica mentioned, we have a whole other series of webinars that relate to the work that VISTA members do. So we just completed one on project management, using project management techniques in your VISTA assignment. So that looked at the professional field of project management and introduced some of the key concepts that go with that, like dependencies and scheduling and resources and triple constraint and all of those types of project management concepts that relate to the work that VISTAs do and could help you in organizing what it is that you're working on. A lot of you will be responsible for resource development and fundraising, so we've got a webinar on creating an online fundraising strategy. So there are lots of different ways to raise money. More and more of it's happening online, so we thought, why not give you at least a grounding in creating a strategy around online fundraising so you could look at what some of the options are, understand the tools and platforms that are involved, and so we've got that as one as well. There are dozens and dozens of topics I'm not going to go through. You can see some of them there on the screen. And as Jessica mentioned, we do record these and we make them available on demand. So if something's already been presented and you weren't there for the live session, you can always watch it on demand. Go to the VISTA campus and under Connect and Learn, you'll see webinars. And on the left-hand side is a schedule of upcoming live sessions. On the right-hand side are all the on-demand sessions. And of course, if you don't see a topic that you think is really important, let us know. You can do that in the chat or the evaluation of this webinar or any webinar you attend. We'd love to get your input. We'd love to hear what your learning needs are. All right, so now let's talk about some additional resources beyond the campus and the webinars that we've just been talking about, because the campus is a good place to start to build your knowledge, but there are many other free and reputable resources available out there that can be really useful. So we're going to mention some examples here that we think may be helpful, but just a little disclaimer. By mentioning them, it doesn't mean that these resources are endorsed by the VISTA program or the Corporation for National and Community Service. We just provide them as examples so you'll have an idea what we're talking about. But first, before we look online, because there are a lot of great online resources, but still, brick-and-mortar public libraries are great and valuable learning sites. So we'll talk about libraries first. Many local libraries can give you access to online databases and grant writing resources,
All you need to access it is a library card. And in addition, librarians are usually really well versed in the latest digital trends and resources, and of course, they're great at doing searches and helping connect you with the resources that you're looking for. In addition to that, many libraries have free access to things like audiobooks, e-books, movies, music, and more. So even beyond the professional stuff, you could find some personal resources that will enrich your life as well. Not to mention, libraries often have community bulletin boards that you can use to post notices for volunteers or community meetings. And while you're looking at that community board, you might also find a recreational opportunity or a social event that might be good for you.
Exactly. So you could gather all of the VISTAs in your area together who are maybe doing volunteer management and go to the library, find some great resources, then rent a movie and hang out. You know, it's a double whammy, hitting two birds with one stone with the library. So definitely check that out. The U.S. Census Bureau also offers free webinars on a range of topics related to using census data to better understand communities. So whether it's looking at education or income levels in various neighborhoods or understanding who's living in Indian country, these webinars offer insights and allow you to conduct your own research based on your interests.
You can also carefully turn to the internet for free resources. Sites like Coursera or Khan Academy and Allison provide free online courses, sometimes from Ivy League institutions, and they cover a wide range of topics. More specific to the nonprofit world are sites like the Free Management Library and the Alliance for Nonprofit Management, which offer free and inexpensive articles, reports, and resources on a range of topics related to nonprofit work. And thank you, Andy, for posting links to those resources there in the chat. So if you're interested in the ones we've just mentioned, scroll up in the chat.
And I do just want to take a quick pause and just say, Rita, you have just used something I'm going to use for the rest of my life. She said, I prefer petting two kitties with one hand to killing two birds with one stone. That is the best thing I've ever heard in my life, so thank you. So in addition to the resources we just talked about, you can check your organization's professional affiliations and memberships to see if any of them can give you access to learning opportunities. Membership in the Foundation Center or LexisNexis provides access to tremendous resources for researching grant opportunities. Organizations like Volunteer Match and the Association of Fundraising Professionals, including their local chapters, can provide professional development opportunities through webinars and a wide variety of trainings.
You might also take advantage of the new networks that your VISTA position will expose you to. A great place to start is with what's called a YPN, a Young Professionals Network, because they often offer networking, professional development, as well as volunteer opportunities. There's even a Young Nonprofit Professionals Network. So check out the website www.ynpn.org to find a local chapter, and if there's not a chapter near you, you might consider starting one. LinkedIn is another great resource for making connections, so spend some time scouring your current contacts because there might be someone connected to you on LinkedIn, maybe directly or just one or two connections away, who could become a really useful resource in the community where you're serving. And networks that you already belong to could be useful as well. A regional or a local college alumni group could offer programs or have a means of connecting you with other alumni in your area who could be a great resource.
And professional organizations are another great resource available to help you meet your learning goals. So in addition to connecting you to others in your field, they can offer significant professional development opportunities. So some organizations even have entire sections of their websites dedicated to professional development and career advancement. Now, while not all of the events and resources are free, it doesn't hurt to ask your supervisor if you might be able to attend a session or even just see if something similar is happening in your area.
Those of you in the resource development field should check out the Association for Fundraising Professionals website and explore their professional development section. It includes everything from conferences and leadership training to executive institutes and certification.
And VISTA's working with volunteers are encouraged to look at the Council for Certification in Volunteer Administration. And that is on the screen, so that was a mouthful, but it is on the screen. Review the certificate requirements and see if it sounds like something you might want to do later in your career. Even if you won't complete the certificate now, you can still glean great resources from their website related to volunteer engagement. And don't forget about Points of Light and Energize. Some of you may even be serving with Points of Light. Energize has tools directly related to career advancement within the volunteer management field.
And those of you who are serving in communications or marketing, you might find that the Public Relations Society of America is a useful resource because they understand that nonprofits face unique challenges in getting their messages out. Their website, which is again shared on the screen, offers seminars, newsletters, and other resources devoted to helping professionals develop their public relations and management skills directly relevant to the nonprofit and association environment.
And if your VISTA service includes developing a training program or education series, check out the Association for Talent Development. You'll be able to subscribe to newsletters, watch webinars, and follow and learn from leaders in the field of training and curriculum development.
Additionally, if any of you are serving at a NeighborWorks organization, and even if you're not, be sure to explore the many training opportunities that NeighborWorks offers. They provide training on everything from nonprofit leadership skills to professional development, community development, and community assessment, as well as supporting minority populations, just to name a few. So that's NeighborWorks.
And don't overlook local development communities, such as those offered by a career center. A United Way, Chamber of Commerce, Toastmasters, Urban League, or national organizations that might have local branches in your community. Chamber organizations often host professional mixers as well as events directed towards emerging community professionals. And while there may be a fee for many of the resources we mentioned, don't be afraid to ask, as I said, your supervisor if you could pick one resource or training to pursue. There's also a chance that scholarships may be offered through the association or training institutes, and it never hurts to apply.
All right, so we'd love to hear from you all again. This time the question is, what resources that you've used that you find useful or practical for professional development? So have you found a free course or an online resource that was especially helpful? If so, use the chat window again on the right side of your screen. If you're on the computer, if you're on a mobile device, you'll have to go to the participants drop down and click the speech bubble icon for the chat. Is there an affinity group maybe or a professional organization that you think resonates especially well with your VISTA service? Or what was that one TED Talk that you saw that you think everyone else should watch? Share your feedback now in that chat window if you can.
There's a lot coming in, Andy. So someone here said, Joshua said cognito.com. We also have lynda.com. I'm not very familiar with either one of those, but maybe you know, Andy.
Yeah, so Lynda, like Allison and Coursera, has online courses. They often have a fee, but you, through many libraries, I think you can access some of those courses through the library's membership.
That's pretty cool.
So another reason to go to your brick and mortar local library. Network for Good, that's a great resource, particularly around community involvement and volunteering.
Take a look here. The former VISTA in my position, yay for her. Love it, Rita.
Yes, there are a few TED Talk recommendations here, and somebody gave a shout out to their own sponsor, the Anti-Hunger Opportunity Corps Resource Library. I don't know if that's accessible to VISTAs who aren't serving with Hunger Free America affiliates, but they do have tremendous resources there.
Let's see here. Oh, Lean In website has TED Talks for female leadership. Pretty cool.
Great. Hunger.net So all of us, working in the poverty sphere and hunger, of course, being right up there. Need.org.
I like this one from Al, Just Eat It. It's a food waste documentary. I love documentaries, so I'm going to check that one out.
Yeah, and let's see, Alexis gives a shout out to her local hands-on affiliate, Hands-On Jacksonville. So again, Jessica mentioned Points of Light and the Hands-On Network. Of course, they have affiliates in many communities across the country. So if you're doing anything related to volunteers, you may look for your local hands-on affiliate.
Yeah, keep them coming, guys. So, and Joshua, thank you. You're the greatest. He said, Cognito is a web-based program that helps administrators and staff members at institutions of higher learning understand the culture behind traditionally underrepresented people. That's pretty cool. Thank you, Joshua. So we're going to move on from here, but please keep typing in different resources that you found. We want to keep that conversation going. And just as a reminder, we are recording this webinar, so you will be able to access it later, so you don't have to furiously copy down all of these notes. So this takes us to our final step in the VISTA Top 4, get connected. You're already part of our VISTA family. We love you. You may not have other VISTAs at your site, but you can always connect through the VISTA campus. Fill out your project area and interests in your campus profile and add a photo. Interact with other VISTAs on the VISTA forums by posting a question or a suggestion. Connect with the VISTA program through social media, such as Facebook and Twitter. Oh my gosh, I gotta say it. Andy King here, the Andy King is pretty awesome on Twitter. He's got a lot of followers, and if you don't know what Andy King looks like, all you need to see is his avatar, and that really looks like him. So I just posted Andy's Twitter handle, and so did Eric. Thank you, Mr. Eric Powell. Follow Andy King. He always posts a lot of great things. So follow us on Twitter. Follow us on all of that. If you haven't already, identify yourself as an AmeriCorps VISTA member on your LinkedIn profile and connect to the VISTA groups available via LinkedIn. If there are other VISTAs in your area, arrange a get-together, as Andy mentioned, to come together face-to-face and share what you are all doing and learning. You can always find VISTAs in your area along with the alumni and leaders by using that map that we discussed. And think about reaching out to the alumni. They often know the area and are happy to help current VISTAs.
Yeah, so this whole idea of connecting with others, how do you make it happen? How do you utilize your VISTA service and your skills to really reach out and connect? Our suggestion is to make a plan and think carefully about these questions and how they pertain to you. So first off, who? For your VISTA service, who might be an important person for you to get to know? Whom should you contact? Who could help you accomplish your VISTA assignment? Knowing who you are, who you can go to for support, and who you identify as a potential role model will be essential in establishing and maintaining sustainable relationships. The next question would be what? What information do you want to know? What do you not know right now that you think you need to? And what's a key ingredient in your life that could help you develop professionally during this year and beyond? Next up would be where. Where do you want to be in life when your VISTA year is done? Where do you want this experience to take you? Where in your community and surrounding area can you look to find resources to aid you in your journey? The question when. Do you have an idea of when you want to go back to school or start working for that dream job? Based on your current schedule and lifestyle, what would be a good time to implement some of your ideas and some of your goals? Don't be afraid to put together a calendar or a schedule and then try to follow it. And then, of course, the question, why? Ever stop to think about why you joined VISTA? Why you are where you are now? Why certain things in your life matter to you? Why is an essential part of growing? Because anyone can attain professional development, but really for what purpose and what reason? You may not know the answer now, or it may take you some time to understand your reasoning, but be sure to come back to this question and think about it so that you know what you want to focus on. You can focus on who you are and what your values are before you start taking additional steps. And then lastly, how? After reflecting on these many different elements, how will you make this plan a reality? What steps will you put in place, And certainly you can seek guidance from family, friends, your supervisor, your fellow VISTAs, but how will you put them in place to accomplish your VAD and your goals in life? Don't let these questions concern you, even though some of them involve deep thinking and they might seem a little overwhelming right now, but they make a good reference point. So as you move through your service and you're starting to make progress, you can remind yourself of where you've been, where you are now, and where you really want to be.
That's great. Those are some deep questions, but definitely, as I said, we're going to have this webinar recorded. Take a look at those questions, write them down, and kind of see where you were in your first 3 months of service, and then in your next 3 months. It's a really growing experience, and just to see where you are and how far you've come. So once you know something about the community, get out there and become familiar with it firsthand. So investigate other aspects of the community and fully integrate yourself into your surroundings. In a community, face-to-face interaction is vital for establishing trust. Attend social functions such as community festivals, networking events, neighborhood meetings, open houses, fundraisers, wearing your VISTA polo or pin, of course. Identify, where people meet in your community, where decisions are made, where people gather to really get together as a community and go to those places. Just being seen in the community and being supportive of the other events in the community makes people want to be more invested in your work. You're seen as a part and an integral part of that community. Begin scheduling meetings with community leaders that you've met. Once after you've gone to one of these events, schedule a meeting with them and then follow up with them from there.
Yeah, and a slightly different approach is to have someone introduce you to the community. So ask your supervisor to connect you with someone who would be willing to serve as your community ambassador to help connect you with the community that you'll be serving. This person should be an established community member who's willing to give you some background on the region or the area so that you can approach your VISTA service in a more meaningful way, and also someone who can introduce you to key leaders in the community. An ambassador can open doors for you, but if you don't have an ambassador, don't let that stop you from exploring and learning about the community. Another element of getting connected is showing your VISTA pride. So make sure to identify yourself as a VISTA member in your interactions by putting the VISTA logo on your business card, in your email signature, and make sure that it's on your organization's website, their social media platforms, brochures, and other communications that relate to the VISTA project at your organization. And we're going to talk to you in just a minute about how to do this, but make sure you wear your VISTA polo shirt with pride.
Woo!
We're putting some web links in the chat that you can use to find places to get access to the official VISTA logos, additional publications, and if you want to purchase more gear, that you can use to decorate your office and to represent VISTA when you're out in the field.
I love the VISTA polo. I love it when you guys show your pride. It's wonderful. And once again, share that with us on social media. Show us what you're doing in your communities. We want to see. So at PSO, you started developing your minute message, that short speech about your organization and your role as a VISTA. Make sure to rehearse it and rehearse it often so that it comes easily to you and you can explain quickly what you do. There are plenty of resources on the VISTA campus that can teach you about creating these messages. Also, when you're out and about, don't forget to take pictures, as I said, and share them with us. We love seeing you. These are real VISTA members on this picture right here. We want to see you doing the work. We want to see you being the amazing VISTAs we know you are. And you never know. We may share it. We may retweet your photo and your service story.
Absolutely. If I see it on Twitter, I'm going to retweet. So you'll get some more.
Andy, or follow Andy. I don't get Twitter.
Yeah, follow me, and yeah, I'll definitely amplify your message. All right, so let's do a quick recap. There on the screen are the 4 steps that you can use to maximize your effectiveness. First of all, get settled into your life as a VISTA. Get to know the program, your site, and the community. Next, reflect on your VAD by thinking carefully about each objective, activity, and then your overall goal. Put those reflections and thoughts into writing as you develop your learning goals And then hold yourself accountable for reaching those professional development goals. Take time to learn about the resources that are available both inside and outside the VISTA campus, and add a resource to your learning plan as well as through professional development opportunities that may be available through your service site. And finally, get connected and stay connected with other VISTAs, alumni, and with others in the community who can support your success.
So now we want to hear from you again because we love hearing from you and you guys have such great things to share. So we've covered a lot today. So taking into account to the 4 steps to actions that we looked at, what is one next step that you can take today after this webinar ends? Maybe it's bookmarking the VISTA member handbook on your learning plan, or scheduling coffee with a coworker, or searching for the next community association meeting. So what are some things that are next steps that you can do? Put them in the chat. Make time to learn. Love it. Love it. Yeah, make time to learn. You know, there's so many different resources.
Yeah,
go ahead, Ann.
Reaching out and getting connected to my new community. You know, many of you are now serving in a community where you haven't lived before, you're not that familiar, so that's a tremendous one.
So you meet again with my supervisor and meet some other Oakland Vistas. Woo.
All right.
Let's see, make a work plan. I love it, Rebecca.
Yeah, using LinkedIn a little more strategically and connecting with people there in the community.
Let's see, organize and execute. I like it. It's to the point, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, Samantha's helping to start a YNPN chapter in Savannah.
Nice.
Tremendous.
Let's see, someone here said they're going to add you and follow you, Andy. So, woo, great action step.
Sweet, thanks. I'm not really that desperate, but I really appreciate followers.
Eat more ramen, Rachel. Man, I love it. I think they have whole cookbooks on ramen recipes. Let's see here. Ooh, I like this. Meet other Ohio Vistas and document my story through blogging. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways online to stay connected and to share your story and really to let folks know what's going on, what's working, and where you can use support. It's great. Yolanda followed me. Thank you.
So as most of you have mentioned, you know, schedule a standing meeting with your supervisor, meet with other organizations, meet with just the team at your site, and then research professional organizations. Definitely don't let that fall off after this webinar ends.
Yeah, so we do have a few suggested immediate steps that you can take. Some of them you've just mentioned, and if not, these are good ones for everyone to consider. So first would be to use this webinar in the VISTA campus to enhance and identify some professional development goals, and then share those with your supervisor. If you don't have a regular meeting scheduled, what else? Reach out and get that set up on the calendar.
Also, identify one resource, whether that's an on-demand webinar or a self-paced course or a helpful video, and add it to your learning plan on the VISTA campus. Also, reach out to another campus user through the Learning Connections feature or by using the map. I love it, guys. You guys are talking in here about connecting. Do it.
Yeah. And finally, research a professional organization in your current field or in a field that interests you, and investigate what a typical career path looks like in that field. And while you're there, start looking at some online trainings, resources, webinars, and other learning opportunities that you might be able to take advantage of. So I know we've given you a lot to think about, and I'm sure you're going to have some questions. But before we dive into the Q&A session, we want to get your feedback on this presentation.
That's right. So go ahead. You should see an evaluation poll on the right side of your screen. Please take the time to answer the questions in the poll. We like to be able to improve these webinars, and your input helps us. As we mentioned, we like to hear from you about what you want, what you liked, what you didn't like. Let us know. We want to be able to improve these because these are for you. So let us know, and while you're completing that, we'll start the Q&A.
Yeah, and I'll mention there are 10 questions in the poll, so you'll need to use the little scroll bar on the right so you can get to all 10 questions. If you joined us on a mobile device, I'm afraid the poll may not function on that device. So apologies for that, but if you have suggestions, feel free to put them in the chat. All right, so now it's time to get to your questions. As I mentioned earlier, you can ask a question using the Q&A panel, which is on the right side of your screen, but when we opened the poll, the Q&A panel closed. So you'll see the letters Q&A just above the evaluation poll. Click the little triangle next to the letters Q&A, and it will reopen the panel. When you send us a question, be sure to send it to all panelists so we'll be able to see it. And now I'm going to ask Emily, our operator, to come back and let us know how to ask a question by phone. Emily?
Thank you, sir. At this time, anyone wishing to ask a question or make a comment, please press star followed by 1 on the keypad of your telephone. Please be sure that your telephone is unmuted and clearly record your name at the prompt so that your question may be introduced. Once again, it is star followed by 1 if you wish to ask a question. One moment, please, for the first question.
Great. And while we're waiting for questions to come in on the phone, we've got a number that came in earlier through the Q&A, so we'll start there. A couple of you were asking about the VISTA Impact Reporting Tool. How can I get it on my phone? Where do I go to get it? So just to remind you, you're not going to find it in the Apple Store, the Google Play Store. It's not available anywhere else except on the VISTA campus. So if you go to the VISTA campus, you can just do a quick search for impact, and you'll see it's one of the top results there. Or you can just go to impact.vistacampus.gov. The instructions are there for adding it either to your device or just accessing it online. It's actually a mobile website, so there's nothing you have to really download or install. But if you're going to use it on, say, a tablet or a phone, you can add a cute little tile, I guess you would call it, to your home screen, and it automatically connects you to that. So the first time you go in, there's a little share button, and you click that. There's a little instruction right on the opening screen that shows you how to add that. So, so that's the VISTA Impact Reporting Tool. Find it on the VISTA campus.
Great. Another question came in about something we didn't talk about, but a couple people asked it, so I want to make sure we address it. There are a few questions about timesheets and how they're supposed to be filling them out and who do they turn them into. So the VISTA program, like VISTA HQ, VISTA here, we don't take timesheets. We don't record your time in that way. So if your site is requiring you to complete a timesheet, it's something that you would need to talk to your supervisor about. It's something that they would manage and something that they would be able to answer those questions. So if you have questions about timesheets, talk to your supervisor.
Yeah, and all of you will need to be submitting some record of your service hours to your supervisor. So it could be in the form of a spreadsheet. Maybe there's an online timesheet system that your organization uses, and they would have you use that as well. It could just be a paper record. Who knows? Talk to your supervisor. There are lots of different ways, and we don't really prescribe that a site use one particular way. But then your supervisor will use what you submit to keep track of your hours served, of the days actually that you've served, any sick leave or vacation time that you've used, and then they'll report to us through a standard mechanism, that in fact you are serving and that you've met those times. But there's nothing standard from us that you would need to fill out. So check with your supervisor.
Let's see here. Another question came in, can I use my sick and personal days as vacation days? So you can use your personal days as vacation days, but you cannot use sick days as vacation days. So you don't get 20 days of a vacation. You can only use 10 of those.
Right. So Dave asked a question, are all VISTA alumni listed somewhere? Well, there's not a public list of all VISTA alumni, but VISTA members who served and completed and now are alumni, most of them appear on the VISTA campus, the VISTA map. So you can go to the map and zoom in on a particular geographic region, and you'll see that the pins are color-coded, so you'll be able to see who's currently serving and who's an alum. and then you can make a connection through the campus to those that you might want to reach out to.
And then there's also the AmeriCorps Alumni Network. So AmeriCorps alums, you can always visit there. They have, that covers more than just VISTA alumni, but it's also another tool. Someone in here asked, let me find who this is, Kim asked, how do you move up in VISTA or work for another nonprofit, career-wise? That's a great question, Kim. So with regard to moving up in VISTA, like as a VISTA position, there's VISTA or there's a VISTA leader. So after you complete your VISTA year, you can apply to be a VISTA leader, and more information can be found on the National Service website about what what the requirements are of a VISTA leader and the benefits. With regard to moving up or nonprofits, there's not like necessarily a strategic way, but there is a great resource. There is something that we have called Employers of National Service. I'm going to post that in the chat, the link to that. Employers of National Service, they're organizations that have identified themselves as people who value the work that AmeriCorps members do and seek to hire those people. So there's a wide variety of federal organizations, state entities, nonprofits, all of those sorts of things that are considered employers of national service because they see the value that VISTAs and other AmeriCorps alumni bring. Andy, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that's it. It's, yeah, while you can come back and serve again with VISTA, there's not like, how to move up. But, yeah. But I think the key really is being able to tell the story of what it is you accomplished, the skills and experience that you developed, and then being able to sell that in your next position. And we do see a lot of people complete the VISTA program and really get on a fast-paced trajectory in a nonprofit career. So, so having served as a VISTA is a tremendous benefit.
That's very true.
So let me pause and check with Emily to see if we have any callers on the phone with questions.
Sir, at this time I'm showing no questions. However, again, as a reminder, if you're wishing to ask a question, please press star followed by 1. And we do have a question that just popped in. One moment, please.
Okay, great.
I'm sorry, I do apologize. That person's name did not record. If you are the person who just pressed star 1, please check your mute button and introduce yourself.
Hi, this is Leah Jean, coming from a Service Works project in Houston. Wanted to know, I know that we are serving nonprofits, but we do have a lot of for-profits that are partnered with our organizations. What would be the protocol, and is there a procedure for movement within those partnerships as well after our service year?
It's a great question, and certainly there are lots of for-profit, government, religious organization, as well as nonprofit partners that are connected to VISTA projects. So, so by all means, if you develop relationships or connections with individuals at those organizations, then when you're beginning your job search later on towards the end of your VISTA service year, you might want to reach out to them to see what they may know about, to see what kinds of opportunities they have there. And you might also want to be, doing some research on those businesses to see what kinds of employment opportunities do they have, what kinds of positions are they listing, so that when you're in conversation with those partners that you're knowledgeable about who they are, what they're doing, the types of workers that they're recruiting for, so that, it's clear that you've done your work as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Do we have other callers on the phone?
Sir, at this time I'm showing no additional questions.
Okay, great. Well, we'll go back to the ones we have in the Q&A, and we'll check back in just a few moments.
All right. So, Kamal, I sure hope I'm saying that right. Can you talk about following up this year of VISTA with a different AmeriCorps program like City Year? First off, I love that you're just starting your VISTA service and you're already thinking of another year. I think it's fantastic. So yeah, I mean, there's no real specific pathway, but serving as a VISTA, having national service experience helps people know that you're dedicated to service. So once you get closer to your end of your VISTA year, you'll want to start looking on the AmeriCorps website to look for positions maybe with City Year or NCCC or something like that. Definitely make sure to update your application in your My AmeriCorps account to reflect, your VISTA year. Make sure that that's the most up-to-date that it can be, and then go from there. I think that's fantastic. Thank you so much for being interested in another stream of our service.
Yeah, and a related question was, does AmeriCorps offer employment assistance at the end of the service year? And while we don't specifically have employment assistance, as we mentioned, we do offer a number of webinars that can be helpful in your job search. We've got some on federal employment, on using your non-competitive eligibility benefit if you're interested in applying for employment with the federal government, how to write a resume and how to represent your VISTA experience on a resume in a way that's effective and really lets the hiring manager know just what it is that you're capable of doing. So we have those types of resources available. Another one that we're offering coming up in October, we have a federal career fair that we're doing here in Washington, D.C. We're going to have representatives from a number of U.S. government, federal agencies who will be on hand to talk about the opportunities that they have. They'll be there eagerly trying to recruit VISTA alumni to come work for them in the federal government. They'll be able to answer questions and all of that. We're going to be doing some webinars related to that federal career fair. We're working on finalizing the dates, but that would be either late October or in November. So watch your email for notice about those. The career fair is on October 25th, again, here in Washington, D.C. About a week later, the group that Jessica mentioned earlier, AmeriCorps alums, they're having a virtual fair. So if you go to AmeriCorpsAlums.org, you can learn. They have not only career fairs, but they have virtual grad school fairs as well. Tremendous resources. It makes it so easy, no matter where you are, to to learn about hiring opportunities or graduate school opportunities. Get a chance to connect and chat with people who are representing those institutions and companies and organizations. So those are a few resources available. Let's see. So other questions that have come up around.
Yeah. So Kelsey here said, jumped around me, can we ask our site supervisors to provide letters of recommendation for application for jobs or higher education? Yeah, you can definitely do that, Kelsey. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Probably don't do that right now because you just started your service year. But yeah, that's definitely something as you kind of think about what you want to do after service, they can definitely provide that for you. So definitely ask them before maybe writing their name down as a reference for you. Just give them a heads up that, hey, I'm interested in having you be a reference or writing a letter for me. Would you be willing to do that? And then if they are, fantastic.
Great. And Nora had a follow-up question about the Federal Career Fair, or it's actually a Career Expo, I should say. She said, are we allowed to attend even if we're not in D.C.? Yes, of course. You just have to be able to get yourself here. So there are details available if you go to the VISTA campus to the events calendar. It's listed there, October 25th. We're sending out more marketing emails, so watch your email address or inbox because you'll be seeing more details about it and how to connect to that opportunity. Let me turn back to Emily to see if we have any callers on the phone with questions.
Once again, I'm showing no questions at this time.
Okay, great. Let's see, so Rosangela has a question. Can we receive gifts from our sponsors? For example, if there is a raffle or some type of incentive compensation for volunteering. Well, so the short answer is maybe. It depends on the nature of the gift, because there are some constraints around what sponsors are able to provide to their VISTA members in terms of additional support beyond what you get through your living allowance or through other types of support from your sponsors. So, for instance, sponsors are able to provide housing assistance, but they can't give the cash directly to you. They would have to make a payment directly to the landlord. There are transit benefits. So say it's a monthly bus pass. They can provide that as long as it's provided uniformly so that all VISTA members have access to that benefit and, you know, that it's sort of across the board. Or maybe if your organization has, I don't know, access to a fitness center, they can give you access to that. Say it's a benefit for their employees, they can make that available to you as well. Now, incentives for volunteering, I'm guessing that your organization has community volunteers who are coming in and that they enter them into a drawing or whatever. I think that's where you probably, or your sponsor would want to draw the line, because those incentives are really intended to keep community volunteers engaged and to keep them coming back, and it wouldn't really be fair to give those out to you as a VISTA, because in a sense you're part of the staff team. I mean, you're not employed by the organization, but you are part of the team that's working there. So, so that's probably not a good idea to, as a VISTA member, to be receiving those types of incentives.
All right, there was, let me take a look here. I know that there were some questions here. Someone asked, can we work on professional development during our service hours? Yes, definitely can. You know, make sure, you know, you're still getting the essential work done that you need to get done for your badge. But yes, you can definitely do that. You can listen to webinars during your VISTA time, you know, join us on the VISTA campus, look for those different things. But yes, definitely you can use professional development in your VISTA assignment time.
Yeah, it looks like we've got time for really just one more question, and Rebecca asks, will AmeriCorps help cover the cost of the GRE? The answer to that is no, but there are some benefits available for you as an AmeriCorps member. On the VISTA campus is a link to the Education Award tutorial site. If you go to that site about the Education Award, there is information on how to request either a discount or a fee waiver for the GRE based on your AmeriCorps service. You would make that request directly with the graduate school that you anticipate applying with, because it would be their resource that they would make available to you. But again, the details are in that Education Award tutorial. All right, so we've reached the end of our time together, and we want to thank you so much for all of your great questions and all of your participation throughout. And before we depart, we want to share some information about, guess what, an upcoming webinar.
That's right, Andy. So this next upcoming webinar that we have here is going to be around planning a social media campaign for your project.
Coming up on September 21st, you'll see me there as well. I want to thank my partner here, Jessica Birch, for all of her support, our colleague Eric Powell, who is diligently answering your questions in the chat and in the Q&A. Also want to thank our production team of Andy Clark, Scott Weinrobe, and Joanne Lau from Education Northwest, who are making all the technology, as well as Emily, our operator on the phone. So thank you for all your participation. Please keep checking back for new webinars on the VISTA's page of the VISTA campus, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you.